and welcome to another edition of Medicare Simplified with your host, Dave Miller.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of Medicare Simplified. I'm your host, Dave Miller. Today, like every time I get someone to interview, I call it a special treat because these people have sacrificed some of their busy day to come talk to us, educate us, and let us know about things that we may not hear about every day or may not even know about. And today, I got Jeff Bellomo from Elder Law. You are going to love this guy. One reason I love him so much is he's a fellow scuba diver. And that brings up a special treat we're going to have during this podcast. So don't blink, you'll miss it. So give me 1 second, we'll get Jeff on here. Hey, Jeff, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dave. Looking forward to this.
Not as much as I have, Jeff, because you are a walking computer of knowledge, especially in areas that seniors need help with. Today, I'd like to discuss about nursing homes, pros, cons, how to prepare for them. But first, I have a special treat. Jeff, you're a scuba diver like me, right?
I am, yes, sir.
Well, I have a little treat for you. And give me 1 second, I'll pull it right up. This came from Bon Air when I was down there in June of 23. Give me 1 second.
All right, looking forward to it.
How do you like that?
Oh, beautiful.
That bad boy is about 7 feet wingspan.
Really? That's
Now,
massive.
I actually slowed this video down because it doesn't look it, but he is moving. And I was kicking like crazy just to keep up with him. And it was just so much fun following him. I found a few others. This was at about 40 feet, believe it or not.
Wow.
I found a few others that were smaller. I just couldn't keep up. The video wasn't that great. But
that's amazing, man.
Oh, it was awesome. And I know we're going to do another podcast later. I got another video for you that you're going to love.
Oh, I can't wait.
And there's a little story behind that one. This one was just the guy was just passing by, and I just got lucky with him.
Nice. That's awesome. What a great video.
Oh, wait till you see the next one.
Nice.
So, Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you went to school, and what got you into law, especially for seniors.
Sure. So, yeah, I went to Junita College for my undergrad, and then went to Widener School of Law in Harrisburg, actually, for my law degree. And right after I finished law school, right before the bar exam, actually 2 weeks before the bar exam, my mother was ill. She was in the hospital. And, you know, you get that dreaded phone call. So, of course, I rushed out to Pittsburgh to be with my family to find out that my mom has advanced stages of cancer. And, you know, she's going to need, well, first of all, she needs surgery to remove the cancer. And they're going to have to remove her colon and some other, you know, major things. And then chemo, radiation, the whole 9 yards. And the surgeon was like, look, you know, you really need to start looking into assisted living, in-home care, and maybe nursing home care. And so there was a whole bunch of questions that came up for us. You know, how are we going to care for mom? How are we going to get her the care that she needs and deserves? How's dad going to be? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to lose the house? Is he going to lose everything that he worked for and that mom worked for? What are we going to do? Can we do something now? Is it too late? Should we have done something sooner? I mean, you could imagine, right? All these questions that just start flooding your mind. And so the surgeon was really nice, but he was, dude, I have no idea, man. I do surgery. Like, I don't know any of that stuff. You know, want to talk to an elder law attorney or talk to an attorney. So I did some research and found an attorney and paid $300 to get in the door. And at the end of the consult, you know, I said, well, what are the answers? Like, what's going to happen? How are we going to care for mom? Is dad going to lose the house? And he was like, well, you have to pay me for the solution. I said, what do you mean? I paid you $300. He said, well, that was to meet with me. The solution that your family needs is $15,000. And if you step foot out of the office today, you forfeit your $300. So I was like, are you kidding me? So I went to another law firm. And what do you think happened? Right? Same thing. I'm out $600. And I was like, all right. So I made a promise that I would not let that happen. There's no way when I'm a lawyer, I'm going to let that happen. But, you know, Dave, I got really lucky. Over the course of my career, I did pass the bar, you know, 2 weeks later. So I did get the ESQ after my name. I was able to become a certified elder law attorney. So I got CELA after my name. I did get a master's in taxation and estate planning. So I got an LLM after my name. You know, the only initials I needed after my name were a J-O-B because I was broke. I had no money. And so I got a job. And when you get a job working for a law firm, your job is to make the partners money. And so here I am, fast forward to 2009. I'm in a room and, I put my hand out to shake the client's hand. And I said, well, ma'am, that'll be $300. If you hire me today, I'll roll it over into the planning fee. And I burst into tears. I just immediately realized that I became one of them, right? I did exactly what I promised myself and my family I wouldn't do. And so right away, I quit my job and I started talking to other attorneys, my mentors, business coaches. And I said, look, I'm going to create a model where we educate for free. All the education is free. I don't care if it's pre-planning, crisis planning, special needs planning, life care planning, trust administration, probate administration. It is going to be free. And then the client will get to know exactly what it's going to cost, what the pros and the cons are, and they're going to hire us because they want to work with us, not because we have $300 of their money. And everybody told me, you'll never make it. All a lawyer has is time and knowledge. And if you give those two things away for free, you're not going to make a living and you're going to be looking for a job in 6 months. And I said, well, I guess we'll find out. And it's been 15 years. We just celebrated our 15 years on February 16th. And here I am. We're still around. We're still educating for free. We have 34 team members. We have an office in York and Lancaster, and we're able to assist people all over the state of Pennsylvania. And it's just been an incredible ride, my friend. And, elder law specifically, because I wanted what happened to my family never to happen to anyone else.
Well, Jeff, we have another thing in common. 2009 is when we both got started in our respective fields.
Very cool.
You started in February. I started in June.
Very cool.
And like you, I got sick to my stomach of watching an agent go in and saying, forget Medicare Advantage. You want Medicaid or Medigap. I'm sorry. You want Medigap. And let me tell you what. And they would make a sales pitch that would sell sand to a desert.
Oh, wow.
Then you meet the other guy. Medigap is expensive. Come on, seriously? Take Medicare Advantage, just that and the other, yada, yada. And he's selling fleas to a dog. I'm not doing that. Both are viable vehicles for you to manage your Medicare benefits with. I give the pros and cons, and like a fingerprint, not one program is good for everyone. Each program is different for each person. I got a husband on one program and a wife on another. Wow. So like you, these podcasts cost me money.
Yeah.
My book cost me money to print.
Mm-hmm.
They're free for anybody out there. Now, books, yes, I do charge $5, $6 on Amazon. Kindle's free if you have Kindle Select. So I'm not making any money on that. And what I do get, I send off to MS Fit Effect. It's a 501c3 that helps people get back what MS took away from them. It helps with the psychological, the physical, the mental, the confidence, the self-esteem. They rebuild everything. They're a fantastic organization right here in Elizabethtown, PA.
Wow, that's awesome.
And I donate to them. I sponsor their events. We can talk later if you like. They've done wonders for getting word out on building their awareness on MS. And now he's statewide and countrywide.
Wow, that's great.
Really helping a lot of people. Like you, Jeff, it's his passion with the law, with me, with Medicare, and taking care of the seniors. So with your mom, I guess she basically did wind up going to a nursing home. Was that it?
No, you know what? She ended up being able to recover, go through all of the chemo, radiation, and everything, and then ultimately was able to come home and was essentially cancer-free, healthy, doing very well, and then just unfortunately went to bed one evening at 67 years of age and never woke up. So I did lose her a few years ago, but yeah, it's been a tough road. But no, she luckily didn't end up needing long-term care, which worked out very well. We were able to get her the assistance she needed in home and stuff, so it worked out very well.
Wow, 67. That's young.
Yeah, I was very young, and a surprise, and but she didn't suffer, which was nice. That was a fear that we had when everything initially started. We never dreamt a day where she would be cancer free. I mean, I guess you're never cancer free, but in remission, and everything was removed, and we were fearing that was going to be what ended up being the thing that took her life, and it ended up not being. It was her heart. So,
Wow. I know my mom, she passed in 2018, 94 years old.
no way.
And she was of 6 siblings. She was the baby. She had
Right.
the worst health of all. And yet she outlived all of them. And she got taken down the same way her mother did. Alzheimer's, then dementia. Now, where my mom was, you buy the apartment. And then once you do that, you pay a fee every month. And then when you run out of money, the Social Security check or whatever you have coming in, it's not going to be enough to pay. But what they do is they give you an allowance every 2 weeks of like $50, $75.
Right.
You can buy some, spend some things that you want, Christmas card, birthday cards, whatever. And then they pay all your expenses, your medications, doctor visits, whatever. And then when you run out of money, they also put you on Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
And she went from independent living, assisted living, nursing home, and we had to pay nothing out of pocket even after she passed. We were lucky because
Yeah.
that's how this place was set up. And of course, my brother and I make donations, other people make donations. She had great care, but that's not the case for everybody. What
No.
happens if your parents or your spouse wind up going into a nursing home that isn't like this? Like this was a retirement community that had everything, and those aren't common. They're very rare around the country. So if you have to go into a nursing home, you run out of money, what happens then? Does anybody try to collect on after the person dies?
Yeah, so there's the program called Medicaid or medical assistance, right? They use those two terms kind of interchangeably,
Mm-hmm.
which is different than Medicare, as you know, Dave. So for the listeners, they're two completely different things. Medicare, I always say, is kind of like the health insurance side as it relates to rehab or long-term care. If you were admitted for 3 consecutive midnights, they'll pay up to 100 days for, rehabilitation. Medicaid is the side where, okay, the rehab has run out or you don't qualify or you're not getting any of the money on the Medicare side, and now you're private pay. The average in the state of Pennsylvania, according to the Department of Human Services, for a long-term care facility for 1 month is $14,676 a month. So now all of a sudden you go from maybe paying next to nothing, depending on what program they have, and then you're, private pay. Oftentimes from a Tuesday to a Friday of the same week, you go from paying next to nothing to paying this whole amount. And so what people will do is they will be told to spend down their assets and then they'll leave the house in their name, for example. And, Pennsylvania has a program called estate recovery. So estate recovery is Pennsylvania's ability, and in any state for that matter, to get repaid up to the amount of care that was provided. So if someone works with a professional who doesn't truly understand how to protect assets and how the law works, oftentimes they will leave, they will leave the house in their name alone with the intent to return home. So that's the fancy phrase that people will use. But what they don't realize is when you die with that asset in your name alone, the state has a right to lien it up to the amount of care that was provided during lifetime. So if somebody's receiving care for a few years, it doesn't take much at those kind of numbers to lien something couple $100,000 pretty quickly. I mean, with really no time at all. So the point is make sure that you're working with a elder law and asset protection attorney who knows how to protect assets properly and not just exempting a house with the intent to return home and leaving it in their name alone, because that will cause major issues for the family members moving forward.
Well, Jeff, what happens when you get to that point? How do you protect yourself from losing the house, taking the spouse's 401k, annuity, stocks? How do you protect yourself from that?
Yeah, so there's two ways, right? So I always teach this as a V. If this is pre-planning and this is crisis planning, notice that the V goes away from each other, right? So when we started pre-planning, anytime that we're trying to do pre-planning, there is a 5-year look back period as it relates to Medicaid and to benefits. So any type of planning that you're going to do in a pre-planning context, needs to be in effect. Let's say a trust, let's use the word a trust here, needs to be in effect for 5 years in order to protect 100% of the assets that are put in the trust. So the first thing I would say to you is make sure you pre-plan ahead and get everything asset protected, get it in the trust, make sure you do it properly with somebody who understands how to do it. Currently in the state of Pennsylvania, there is also a crisis side. The crisis side is, look, I didn't plan ahead. I didn't know to do this. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't do it ahead of time. Currently, Pennsylvania still allows us to do crisis planning. It's very favorable for married couples. There is actually a way currently in the state of Pennsylvania that even if you had not done prior planning, assuming that the power of attorney that you have authorizes the type of planning, and I know in the next podcast that we're going to do, we're going to talk more about pre-planning, but as long as that power of attorney authorizes the planning to be done, we are still able then in crisis to be able to protect assets. Currently, we're allowed to protect 100% of assets for a spouse, even if they're in a long-term care facility and hadn't done planning previously. Now, I do want to say this. It's currently allowed, right? Which anytime I say the word currently, that means, the laws can change at any time. And also, you are relying on the fact that your spouse is not going to pass away and or to need long-term care. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second. What did you just say? Yeah, I mean, the crisis rules are assuming that both spouses are healthy, that one spouse is still living in the home, and we're going to allow us to be able to transfer assets to that spouse living at home and then get all the assets protected for that spouse. But you and I both know you can't always count on the fact that one of them isn't going to become disabled or one of them is going to pass away. You don't necessarily want to count on the laws not changing. I mean, you just never know what could happen there. So typically when we're teaching this, we're teaching the pre-planning concept as the guaranteed result. I don't want to count on, neither spouse passing or neither spouse needing, long-term care themselves. And I don't want to count on the law not changing. So let's do it ahead of time by 5 years. But in the event currently that we haven't done that and you're already in a long-term care facility, it is not too late. The good news about most of Pennsylvania is that most of the long-term care facilities do accept Medicaid. I'll use, York County, for example. There's 17 nursing homes, give or take. 16 of the 17 accept Medicaid. Because our system was built in order to be able to do that, the government never expected us to be able to pay 15 grand a month privately out of pocket. So there was a plan built into the system to be able to allow people to get that taken care of, but it has to be done properly. I mean, you already hit the nail on the head, which is if you don't do it properly, the state is just going to lien everything after death, and there's going to be all kinds of issues later, which doesn't help anybody.
And that's where you can get taken to the cleaners. And
taken to the cleaners.
Jeff, you, myself, the listeners here, we work hard all our life.
Yeah.
So that at some point in time, we don't have to work and we can enjoy the golden years. Now, I know some people laugh at that, got gold in my teeth, my hair is silver, the song and the poem,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
But the thing is, we still want to be able to enjoy some time before the final day comes. And yet, so many people could learn so much from someone like yourself about how to protect that if one person winds up needing a nursing home. And where can they find out about your workshops, Jeff? Where can we learn about when you're having them?
Yeah, you can go online, www.bellomoassociates.com. So that's B as in boy, ELLOMO, associates spelled out with an S.com. You could certainly call the office at 717-845-5390. We offer them live weekly in York and Lancaster. We have them on Zoom, so you can watch them from anywhere. And we also have them pre-recorded. So certainly there's all kinds of opportunities to be able to get educated for free, to make sure that you understand, what to do ahead of time, or if it's too late, what to do in crisis. We actually do have a separate workshop that is crisis planning. So that's for people who are in a nursing home or will be in the next 6 months. And then, of course, we have the pre-planning one, which is for people who are planning several years ahead of time So we offer both, and both are free of charge.
Now, you say crisis planning is like, okay, it just happened. So in pre-planning, let's say somebody's 63 years old,
Okay.
both husband and wife are in good shape. Instead of waiting until 68 or 70, it'd be best to do this now. The earlier the better,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, the 5-year look back period is a killer. And I know that a lot of people will say to me, well, we're healthy. I, sure, I am today too. But 5 years from now, I mean, we just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen. And a lot of people try to time it. And timing it, you might get lucky. Certainly I've met people who've gotten lucky timing, but you're not timing, you're timing 5 years ahead. So it's not even as though you can time it. So my joke always is, what was the best time to plan 5 years ago? Okay, well, that's too late. So what's the next best time to plan? Today, tomorrow, because I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. I don't know what's going to happen in, 7 years, 8 years. So let's get it done sooner rather than later.
Jeff, when are you having your gallbladder removed? You don't
No
know if you're ever
idea.
going to have it removed.
No idea. No idea.
Same
Yeah.
thing with planning for something like this. You
Yep.
don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I was 48 when I lost my gallbladder. You think I saw that coming?
No.
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 It was a trip to the ER real quick, an emergency surgery that night. I
Yeah.
did not see that coming at 48.
No.
So just like this planning, I don't care if you're a married couple. I don't care if you're 40, if you're 50, if you're 60. Make an appointment with Jeff and start planning things out today.
Yeah.
Best advice I think I can give someone right now on this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're not, if you're not ready to do that type of planning, at a minimum, listen to the next podcast, come to the pre-planning workshop, learn about powers of attorney, and make sure that you have a proper power of attorney in place so that even if you're going to rely on crisis, remember, the document still has to authorize it. And I will tell you that 98% of documents that I read are not correctly done. It's very few attorneys who know how to draft properly for the asset protection piece, for the elder law piece. So please don't assume. And we in our workshops, we don't hide it. We tell you exactly what you're going to find in your document, and we tell you what it should be. It's not as though we hide the ball. We tell you exactly so you can go home and look at yours and realize, oh crap, I need to get this updated. So even if you're not ready to plan ahead as far as the trust goes, get your document ahead plan so that you can do crisis. I mean, either way, you got to have the mechanism, because timing your disability or I'm sorry, timing your incapacity of when you're not going to be able to sign a document is impossible. There's no way that you're going to time that. So please make sure that you're planning ahead at a minimum with the power of attorney.
Jeff, aside from a pen, a big notepad, because if you go to one of these workshops, you're going to want to take a lot of notes. What else should they bring with them? At one of your workshops, but when they make an appointment with you, what documentation should they bring with them as far as like, do they need a complete list of all their assets? Do they need to have health? I mean, what would help make your appointment with them beneficial time-wise, but also accuracy-wise and the most beneficial to them for their time and money?
Yeah, first thing I would say is come to the workshop and get educated. The knowledge is power, and I truly believe that learning ahead of time before you're in crisis or before something is needed is by far the best thing you can do. From that point, whether it's pre-planning or crisis, we will certainly set up what the next step looks like, what you would need to bring. On the pre-planning side, honestly, it's your driver's license. And this is when we're getting ready to move forward, obviously, and an open mind. The one thing I tell people all the time in the pre-planning workshop is I need you to understand that a lot of what you think you know is not correct. And I need you to be open to the idea that it isn't correct, and just hear me out, and I'll explain why, and I'll give you all this, legal authority to back what I'm saying. But once you have an open mind and you're willing to kind of understand it, if we're going to move forward, then yeah, you're going to need your driver's license. You'll need your children's names, dates of birth, addresses, just basic information. You wouldn't need asset stuff until down the road a few weeks. So that wouldn't be something that you would have to pull together immediately. Up front, it would just be more of the education. And then if we're going to move forward, just knowing who your family is and what you want to have happen, obviously, but that will come.
So when you finish a workshop, if they want to move forward, they make an appointment, and I think you give them some documentation and a shopping list of what to bring with them.
Yeah, so they'll definitely get a list of items that they're going to need to think about, not necessarily need to bring, but things to think about. They'll understand what the next step is and what they can do. We're basically running on the pre-planning side 2 models. We're running the model that after the workshop they can come in for a free consult, or we're also running another model where we're able to bring the price down significantly. So we explain all of that to them in the workshop and let them choose what model works the best for them. Some people are price conscious. Some people would rather pay a little extra. It just depends on who they are and what their situation is. But we offer both, and they don't have to, no charge up front in order to get the education and determine which model makes the most sense for them.
Great. Jeff, I'll tell you what, my wife and I will be calling you for an appointment.
Sounds good, man. Looking forward to it.
I really appreciate all your time, Jeff, and thank you for doing this with me and for the future one coming up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jeff Bellomo of Elder Law and Bellomo and Associates, the man you need to see to prepare for what eventually could happen. I say could because we never know what's going to happen tomorrow. And by planning next week or next year, you might have been too late. Learn from other people's mistakes. Plan ahead. Topics like this and final expense, like I did with Matt Alina, they're not fun topics, but they're necessary topics and conversations that need to be happening. The workshops are free. All it takes is an hour or 2 of your time, a pen, paper, and a lot of notes, a little writer's cramp while you're taking the notes. So please get a hold of Jeff. Jeff, what was that number and website again? Yep,
717-845-5390, or on the web at www.bellomoassociates.com. B as in boy, ELLOMO.
And there you heard it, folks. Jeff Bellomo from Elder Law and Bellomo Associates. He is someone I trust, someone I would highly recommend to anyone that's looking to do any type of legal work, especially for the older folks like ourselves. And I consider myself older. I'm over 60, so I count, I guess. We thank you for tuning into this podcast. And folks, look for some more with Jeff and I down the road, Madalena down the road. I got a whole lot of interviews lined up with good topics and people and things you need to learn. So please hit that little button on the bottom there that says subscribe. Make sure you don't miss an edition. And I look forward to continuing our journey with you and learning how to do things right the first time. Have a great day. If you've enjoyed this podcast and don't want to miss future episodes of Medicare Simplified with me, Dave Miller, please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to check out my book, Medicare Ready, Set, Go, available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle format. If you're looking for Medicare advice, please reach out to me at dave@mig4u.net or online at mig4u.net.